Hi, this is Steve. You're watching Ess-Fo. In my ongoing quest to accurately describe exactly what this channel is all about, I came across some travel blogs and websites, and it hit me as the perfect metaphor for this. Ess-Fo is to music what a travel blogger is to finding new and exciting places that are maybe unknown or somewhat hard to get to. It's just that the musical tourism that I provide is far more environmentally responsible than going to a secluded area, consuming resources that are already scarce, destroying habitat, and basically throwing a lit match over your shoulder as you walk away while beckoning others to come see what you saw. For instance, one of the songs we're covering in this episode, Ideas of Space by Tess Roby, when I close my eyes, it makes me imagine waves being cut by the hull of a ship. It transports me. A travel blogger, on the other hand, might recommend that you go run a marathon in Antarctica. It'd be pretty cool, right? It'd be a very exclusive memory since Antarctica might not be there in a few years. Well, why won't Antarctica be there in a few years? Because people go there to run marathons. I'm just playing around. I actually have a close friend who will be going there shortly, and I'm not really one to talk. I recently vacationed in Tulum, Mexico, a formerly pristine beach location where I produce garbage, terrorize sea turtles, and, irony alert, I blogged about music from the balcony of my Airbnb. Now that we have stepped on the rake of self-awareness, let's get to the music, shall we? As mentioned, we'll be getting nautical by nature with Tess Roby. We will then switch boats to join the regatta of Renata Zeigeur. We'll trouble the still waters of the insanely ungoogleable Mega. But first, it's the groove that makes your pirate booty move. Charlotte Adigéry and Bolis Pupul with Ceci n'est pas un cliché. Wait! Before you scatter. Ceci n'est pas un cliché is titled in French, but is sung entirely in English. Think of the NRA's Wayne LaPierre, if that helps. Though increasingly tolerant to Spanish, Americans are almost as allergic to non-Anglophone pop music as they are to paying to use the bathroom or high-grade gasoline. I remember my car's manual told me that I should not use gasoline with an octane rating of less than 86. There's an 86? Show it to me. Ceci is a vulgar display of simplicity. It's a chicken bone of dance funk that makes early LCD sound systems sound like meatloaf. It relies on a sampled stand-up bass line, and it moves at the pace of a catwalk model, sort of a... The beat phases through just plain bass pedal to a mixture of electro disco. There are finger snaps a lot, and there's a lot of hi-hat. I assume a lot of that is handled by Bolis Pupul because, not that I don't think Charlotte Adigéry can handle those things, but she's the singer, and, well, he's there for some reason, I assume. Unless, the duo is renowned for satire of post-colonialism and political correctness, so maybe that's part of it. Maybe Bolis Pupul is here as the eye candy. Adigéry is mic'd with a slight echo, so it gives the sound like maybe she's on stage. She's rapping, but not in the hip-hop sense of rapping, but more like she's catcalling with the phrasing of a jazz singer or a poetry slam barfly. The title of the song translates to "This is not a cliché," so now that she's drawn attention to herself, she sees someone that she's attracted to, she quickly realizes she doesn't have much that's interesting to say. So she unloads an avalanche of classic rock references from "Down on My Knees, Begging You Please" to "I Died in Your or "I Want to Die in Your Arms Tonight." She's always circling back to the chorus, though, which is "She's as cold as ice." Despite being a different animal sonically, the lyrics reminded me of the song that introduced me to the jammy indie rock band Built to Spill back when I was in college. A little poetry in that Ceci is the song that introduced me to Adigéry and Pupul. The song by Built to Spill called "You Were Right" is constructed of classic rock lyrics as well, and they're all downtrodden. You were right when you said it's a heart rate that's going to fall. You were right when you said you can't always get what you want. And then it swings around to say you were wrong when you said everything's going to be all right. Anyway, if you get your tail up for songs that reference other songs, you should check it out. Links are below. So I was reading this listicle, those lists that masquerade as journalism, entitled Pop Musicians You Probably Didn't Know Were Classically Trained. A few of them I did that sort of, oh yeah, I can see it. The guy from Gangnam Style, Kelly Clarkson, BB Rexa, Charlie Puth. But then on there were Lady Gaga and Katy Perry, and those two kind of shove it in your face, don't they? I mean, Katy Perry once wore a gown to the Grammys that had the entire notes from a score of a Verdi opera written into it. I wonder if there is an inferiority complex woven into the minds of some of these classically trained pop stars. Make no mistake, some of the dumbest and most superficial sounding pop music can be extremely difficult to pull off. But you've got to wonder if when, say, the classically trained Ariana Grande is around other classically trained but working classical musicians, if she senses a bit of them in a little, so, you're making pop music now? I'm sure there's a sizable clique in the classical music community who views these stars, all 16 of them according to the list, as sellouts, and it won't let them back in the club for fear of them contaminating the punk-like cred of the Juilliard riffraff. I wonder if Tess Roby operates under this kind of pressure. She's a classically trained vocalist, doesn't exactly have "Kick Me" tattooed across her forehead like some of them do, but she uses her voice more as an instrument, in a Kate Bush or Bjork sense. As I mentioned earlier, Ideas of Space makes me feel like I'm watching the hull of a ship cut through waves, more so than any classical piece that's ever made me feel. In the song, Roby is Truman Burbank or Tracy Edwards or Bob. She's free, she's sailing into the future. And can I just say this? I nailed it. When I reviewed this on Instagram earlier in the year, I stuck to the maritime motif and noted how she heard the call of a lover and to whom she had once returned but since left again, and there were second thoughts. Roby's video for the song isn't on a boat, but she's looking down a mountain, she's unhurried, she's free to roam, she hallucinates, cries, has reservations, and then goes free. It might be a version of Robert Wyatt's Free Will and Testament. How can I be free if I'm not free to unbe me? Whoa. But if I were one of her classical classmates, I might be a little humbled. Links are below. Evergreens are a winter icon due to their endurance. And how do we as humans reward this endurance? By decapitating them from their trunks, so that Jawa-like captors can truck them en masse to grotesque kennels, where buyers then inspect their dead, naked bodies. The lucky ones are then transported to a living room until their shedding corpses no longer please their masters, at which point they are dragged to the curb. In my neighborhood, most of them don't even make it indoors. We tie them to stakes on our lawns like witches and then set them alight as if they're a warning to some conifer alien invasion force or a threat to any area pines who are harboring desires for rebellion. Kind of the way kings used to set the rotting skulls of conspirators on pikes. Could you imagine being a Buddhist who has come back as an evergreen in the Northwoods? Maybe you spent the last 2 to 5 years freezing on the ocean floor as one of those giant isopods. And here you've been blessed with potentially 500 years of forest meditation when some Scanies come along with a chainsaw to hasten you onto your next reincarnation? No wonder they crap needles all over the floor as they dry up. I would too. Renata Zeiger's song, Evergreen, is a mid-tempo, 3-minute indie pop track. 4 guitar chords in the chorus, 4 guitar chords in the verses. But she's got a beguiling way of layering melodies. Her voice carries one. There's a guitar part that kind of loosely mirrors it. But the most prominent one, I don't know if it's whistles or a flute. I realize I just may have entered the Seven Dwarfs into the conversation, and that was unintentional. But it's like budget Baroque. It's honoring the majesty of the forest. She was inspired to write the song when she left New York City to go live in the countryside And she was inspired by the forest and impressed with sort of the ancient wisdom it seemed to impart. All that goes on in city life, the forest was simpler. It had more truth. There's a significant contrast in the way she delivers the first and the second verses, the first being a little slow to find the words, and the second being flooded with possibility. Zeigeur has packed a lot into this small package, so you can bet the trees will be wary of her. Links are below. My first employer, where I had to fill out a W-2, was OfficeMax. And let me tell you, when you have a closing shift at a store like that, you're supposed to face the products, which means bringing the items to the edge of the shelf so they look nice and orderly and not like Walmart does. The last items you face in an office supply store are the 30-odd rolling desk chairs. Because, without fail, at 8:45, someone will come in to make some last-minute photocopies, and his kids will make a beeline for the chairs and bang, like bowling pins. There's something about office chairs and kids. My daughter will sneak into my office before me just to spin around in circles for a little bit. And then here I come. Okay, get up, stop that now. I want to sit there and get back to slowly dying. I remember a surprising amount from the year I spent at OfficeMax. I remember these guys, Frank and Chris, dropping acid, and I had to follow them around so that they would stop writing dick jokes with the brother label maker. I remember Dave and Polish Mike getting busted for stealing a laptop. There was this guy, Brent, who gave me the nickname Fufenegger, which was a store-only sobriquet until the time I brought some high school friends with me to a party and he let loose the secret, which then led to me being called Foofy for a short time after that. One time we worked an overnight shift because we had to do inventory, and it would periodically break into red-eyed renditions of U2's I Still Haven't Found What I'm Looking For. Strangely, and this is only because I was hardly ever around them, I still remember the store manager's name was Warner, and his assistant manager's name was Spencer. Warner and Spencer. These guys should have been running all of OfficeMax, not just one location. In fact, I'd like to think they're still with the company in some capacity. I'd like to look that up if I didn't believe that the OfficeMax mainframe was on a compact desktop computer still running Windows 95. That's what I feel like I'm using while researching Mega. I need a Mega phone. The few scraps I have been able to turn up about her are all variations on the small information provided on the Network Records website. As her Twitter handle shows, Mega is her name, but I wish she'd anticipated this. She's very difficult to Google. The one thing that is clear about Mega is that she's based in North London and has Ugandan and or Nigerian heritage, which is a lot like saying someone has Spanish and or Bulgarian heritage. Surprising in all this is that she released a song called Chariot a couple years ago that did really well. It's the kind of song that inspires dozens of acoustic YouTube covers, and it probably made its rounds at weddings, like in the form of a lyric bouquet, or perhaps this hopefully inflammable custom backdrop featuring the opening verse of The Light by Common. Chariot was actually about finding confidence and overcoming self-doubt. And on Be Good, Be Kind, she's in familiar territory. This time, however, the guitar is moving more slowly and her tone is more ruminative. She sings Be Good, Be Kind with such unwavering serenity that you'd never know that the lyrics are about avoiding a mental collapse. It's a masterful production choice to render the song this way, underscoring, as it does, the silence in which suffering is most oftenly done. She's mastering the empowerment anthem. So, if you're looking to bulk up your Antarctica marathon playlist, links are below. Click like and subscribe. Before I usher you off to my Instagram page for more recent reviews, oops, I do want to point out that while I use Spotify for organizational purposes and building playlists, that I highly recommend listening to these songs on another service, be they Bandcamp, Tidal, Apple Music, even YouTube seems to have a higher quality sound than Spotify does. I mean, yeah, you're perfectly free to go eat halibut off of a styrofoam plate with a plastic fork, but if you had your druthers, bye.